constantly asking, how's Jeff doing, and not knowing because I don't call. I could see the stress on her and the strain, and we kind of came to a middle ground where we could start talking about these things, and it helped us. I will tell you that I think that PTSD will grab hold of you without you even knowing it, but I don't think it's an animal that can't be killed. I think that you can defeat it, but you can't do it on your own. I tried to ignore it, and it came back probably tenfold on me because of that.
During my annual physical with my doctor, I said, I got to ask you, the symptoms I've got, should I continue to be having these at this point in time, and are they going to diminish over time, or is it just the way it is? And he goes, oh, no, you're clearly experiencing post-traumatic stress, and he said, let me get you to talk with the stress management folks, the psychological health folks, and as soon as I met with them, they said, no problem, we've got a very clear protocol, we'll get you on that, and we can guarantee that when you're through with this, you will feel much better and won't have near the level of symptoms that you're having. So I decided, well, I'll share my own experiences and story on a broader basis. It seemed like it was the right thing to do, and I could use my experience to set the example and kind of encourage people to come forward. But when I mentioned it to my wife, she's the one that kind of said, well, you sure you want to do that? How's that going to affect your career? How's that going to be perceived? And I said, well, it really doesn't matter. If I can set the example and get people to come forward, then it's all worth it, whatever happens. And it was amazing. I expected to get the whole gamut of kind of feedback from one end of the spectrum to the other, but it's all been positive.
I went on a temporary duty to Washington, D.C. for a few weeks and met up with an old friend who was a frog in the Navy, and he was a photographer during Vietnam. And he said, Stacy, do you realize that you have some symptoms from post-traumatic stress disorder? And I said, no, I don't. I just have some problems sleeping. I can handle everything else. And he said, well, let me do this. I'm going to contact my team leader at my vet center, and then I'll have him contact the one in Charleston, and then they'll be in touch. And he assured me that it would remain anonymous from my active duty command. A few days later, I got a phone call from the Charleston Vet Center, and I started going and getting therapy from them. I think it takes real strength to seek help. I kept my mental health care secret for so long. In a predominantly male unit, the last thing I wanted them to know was that I was having issues, because they seemed to be coping fine. And it took that other person, a Vietnam-era person, to grab my hand and say, here's the vet center. And I started to realize that I wasn't the only one suffering from post-traumatic stress or battle fatigue or all the other names that they have for it. And once I started opening up to my colleagues, that one little crack opened the floodgates, and then I had a ton of people coming to me about, well, where did you go? What should I do? What are the symptoms? How can I get help? And I found that by sharing my story or my experiences, I might be able to help others deal with theirs.
You get so many mixed messages. I had someone that, not in a negative way, just say, hey, you'll be okay mentally. You'll get over it. And in reality, I wasn't getting over it. But what changed was I began to reach out for support. I began to think about all these things need to be talked about. And so I began my recovery. And from there, I began to not only physically, but mentally and holistically approach my life, and to see that my life wasn't over and that I could conquer my challenge. I relive being back on that battlefield. What you do is you learn how to handle that, but you also have someone you can talk to about it as well. Not only can you use your support system through your church, but through your family, through the vet centers, or just individuals that are your comrades that you served with. It's truly important that you have a support system.
I actually thought that I might have post-traumatic stress disorder, but I I didn't really think I needed to seek treatment, but Ivana and I were roommates at Balad. So when I came back, I saw that she did a profile, and it just inspired me to get my treatment for PTSD and to tell my story. And I told myself that I can't be an effective leader if I'm not taking care of myself first. So I self-referred to the mental health clinic here, and when the psychologist did diagnose me with PTSD, it was such a sense of relief, because finally there was a reason, an explanation for why I was feeling this way. And it was like a weight was lifted. And I knew that, okay, now I can get the treatment that I need. It's been very rewarding for me to share my experiences, and it's made a positive improvement in my overall well-being. I feel content, I feel peace at I did the best I could when I was there, and that I'm not focusing so much on how many lives were lost, but on how many lives were saved, and that I had directly contributed to saving many lives.
Initially, when I was getting ready to come back, I was very angry and was afraid of what I would face when I came back, people asking me questions, and I felt like I did not want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk to anybody. But then when I came back, I realized I really wanted to tell my story.
If you definitely know something's bothering you from a deployment you've been on or something you might have seen over there, it's up to you. If you want to get better, you can get help and get better. When I went to get help, I had more help than I could ask for from my mom and dad, my entire command.
It takes absolute real strength to deal with your own emotions in a mature manner, admit to yourself what you have been through and the challenges that you face, and to step in and encourage others to do it and get them to people that can help.
There are some of us out there who have seen the worst of the worst, day in and day out, and what you're experiencing is a very normal reaction to a very abnormal situation. And some folks can cope very well with that, and I would say the majority of others have some degree of difficulty coping, and for me, I needed professional therapy, and I'm so glad I did it.